How's it going? Good Thursday morning. So, getting in the last 1/3 of the book. Some of the stuff about specialty groups and creativity. And I've mentioned before that I have led groups in trauma-informed care at Lighthouse. I've done addictions groups, something similar to Al-Anon family groups, because they were for the addiction recovery place I worked for. And the key is, you hear this a lot too, stand like 2-3 steps ahead of your group members. Excuse me. So, being prepared, getting things done, learning how to do the specialty group and things of that nature. So with that, I'm going to try to get in the PowerPoint we created for University of Cincinnati groups class not too long ago and go from there if it plays for us. Let's see.
On specialty groups and creativity in groups as part of our group skills and substance abuse counseling course.
So it'll get into the learning objectives next and some of the different things we do with the specialty groups and how you can implement that creativity into the matter.
As we look at the objectives for the week, as always, I want to remind you to review the chapter for this week prior to viewing the lecture, as the lecture is intended to supplement your reading. By the end of the week, you should be able to identify the ways in which specialty groups provide assistance to specific populations and the role of creativity in delivering these services. Specialty groups are groups that focus on one particular population or problem, which may include groups for military veterans, new mothers, or those who experience unemployment. These specific groups demand a wealth of knowledge and expertise from their leaders and vary greatly in terms of type and purpose. Some specialty groups may be open and psychoeducational in nature, while others are closed and psychotherapeutic. As we think about different kinds of specialty groups, I encourage you to keep in mind two things. One is that there are many, many specialty groups out there beyond the ones that we will talk about here today. The other thing to keep in mind that we will circle back to in this lecture is the role of creativity in group work. In our next lecture, we'll discuss some structured approaches to group work, but I think the gliding text makes a fair point that creativity in the group context has the potential to facilitate growth, development, and achievement in members. As I mentioned, we'll come back to this idea in a few slides. For now, though, let's look more closely at some different kinds of specialty groups. My guess is that as we look over some of these different groups, you will be more interested in some than others, and there may be groups that don't pique your interest at all. Even if you are not interested in leading a group like this in the future, it can be very helpful to be familiar with the range and variety of groups that are available, as they are a valuable referral resource for your clients. Groups for the unemployed may provide resources for learning, increased accountability, networking, emotional support, and increased self-awareness. Research has shown that participants of so-called job clubs enjoy lower levels of frustration with search process, used a wider variety of services, and spend more time on job search activities. Groups for the unemployed, like many kinds of groups, can minimize a sense of isolation and alleviate interpersonal stress and conflict. Groups for military personnel and their families help provide support for a population who have been shown to suffer from a great deal of trauma and stress, regardless of whether or not they have seen actual combat. These groups may be psychoeducational nature to help with transitions or teach coping skills, or they may be geared more towards emotional processing in the here and now through counseling groups. Regardless of the type, these groups benefit from the same environment and emotional support, from the safe environment and emotional support that groups can offer. Other specialty groups include those for new mothers or those experiencing issues with anger and aggression. Telephone groups have become popular as options for those living in rural areas, as well as caregivers or older adults who are unable to travel to group meetings. Telephone groups have been shown to have the potential to provide information, support, and coping skills to caregivers. Trauma stress groups can help members acquire new coping skills and attitudes, increase the ability to advocate for peers, improve interpersonal relationships, and positive impacts on resiliency. Groups are also geared towards a variety of disabilities, which, like all groups, require screening to ensure that the members are appropriate for the agreed upon purposes and goals. Parents of students with learning disabilities, for instance, have been shown to gain a greater sense of control and reduced stress level through group counseling. Prevention groups may help people avoid potential problems, and achievement groups promote academic achievement for adolescents through psychoeducational techniques. Both prevention and achievement groups, you will notice, target specific populations and both promote health and wellness rather than addressing an existing concern. As we bridge now from specialty groups to creativity in groups, we remind ourselves that group work relies on making real contact with our members, engaging them in the process, and facilitating growth and development through this. Creativity plays an important role and is defined by Gladding as the ability to produce new and useful thoughts, behaviors, and feelings in a socially appropriate context. No group, even those that are run based on a very specific manual, is ever exactly the same. Creativity allows leaders to respond to issues that may arise with flexibility and innovation. Two models for creativity in groups are De Bono's 6 Hats approach and Orbelli's Scamper model, with apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Briefly, De Bono's 6 Hat approach can be used when considering a problem, difficulty, challenge, or concern by breaking that situation down using 6 different so-called hats. Using your imagination here, you try on each hat before deciding what to do and examine the issue from each perspective while in the group context. The white hat is one where questions are raised using available information only, thinking about the issue based on facts alone, remaining neutral and objective. The red hat focuses on emotions and gets at instinct and gut reactions with no justification required for the feelings that are expressed. The black hat focuses on flaws or barriers to the course of action being considered, so that care and caution must be considered. The yellow hat highlights good points that have been raised and focuses on what might be the best thing that would happen if the idea being considered was in fact adopted. The final hat, the blue hat, is the organizing hat and helps us think logically and sequentially about our thoughts. Each hat represents a way of thinking, and in the group context, each member can try on the same hat at the same time to encourage deeper thought and consideration. The Scamper model offers a different approach to creativity and is a mnemonic device where each letter of the word scamper represents a different word and way of being creative. In any situation, we can use each letter to prompt a question for reflection. The S stands for what can be substituted in the situation, whether it be coming up with a different ingredient for a recipe or a different word to improve communication patterns. The C represents a question of what can be combined. Especially in the group setting, combining verses or ideas can improve upon either idea as it was individually. The A refers to adapting or adopting, which means making something your own. Your book suggests that this could include adapting to a certain communication style or adopting an open attitude toward others. The M letter represents modifying by making something larger or smaller. In a group setting, this could be modifying the seating or the length of a session based on member need. The P stands for put to other uses, and encourages you to think about alternative ways to utilize certain objects or phrases. There may be a motto or something that you can think of that was used for a certain purpose in one aspect or environment of your life and has been put to use in another part of your life as well. The E reminds us to eliminate behaviors that are unproductive. Each of us can probably think of excessive behaviors, perhaps nervous ums or likes, for instance, that could be eliminated. Finally, the R stands for what can be reversed or rearranged. I especially like the idea of rearranging, where we can mentally shift our focus from one achievement, habit, concern, or regret, and instead focus on something more beneficial. It does not attempt to remove, but rather shifts focus. In summary, specialty groups focus on one particular problem or population, which may include groups for unemployment, new moms, anger management, or military veterans and/or their families. And they also target prevention or achievement. Finally, when paired with clear goals and intentions, creativity in groups can facilitate growth and development and help overcome difficult challenges and obstacles. Thanks for listening. This is the end of Lecture 7.
All right, so next week we will have a couple of classroom demos with Brittany Brake and Andrew Smith. So I wanted to get through some of the chapter work and what it would look like to do some of the future assignments. So if you go to D2L, I was able to find the Girl Circle manual where it actually breaks down how you lead a group. So if you go into the main page on D2L, and there is the announcement. It was June 21st at 11 a.m. So right after the important part of this class. And here is your guide to leading a group. If you haven't found something already, so obviously, if you have found something to lead your group, that's okay. It will help. If you haven't done the first assignment, definitely do that before the second assignment. They go in order for a reason. 2 and 3, you could actually do simultaneously. So while you were setting up to lead your group, obviously you want to give citations to this manual. But here's the breakdown. So with the weekly guide, you have the 10-week theme and activity overview. When you're choosing the group you want to lead, you could go with any of these 10. So week 1, connecting with each other. Week 2, labels, exploring new perspectives. Week 3 in Girl Circle is expressing myself. Some people like that one. Week 4 is accepting all different parts of myself. Week 5, cultivating respect. Week 6 is giving voice to feelings, part 1. And then 7 is giving voice to feelings, part 2. Could lead either one of those. Also, week 8 is romantic relationships. For some reason, that's a favorite of others. Leading week 8, what is it worth to you, romantic relationships? Or week 9, girl fights or girlfriends. And then week 10 is wholeness and completion. So depending on which one you choose, you see about every 12, 13 pages, there's a new group. Actually, it's every 8 to 10 pages, it looks like, because week 1 starts on 13, then in 6 pages, week 2, whichever one you choose. And it shows you literally from start to finish what you'll need, how to lead it, what it looks like to lead, you know, the icebreakers, the resources. You've got the master activity list. If you're leading within an agency, this is helpful because it has the permission form. And then when you're done with the group, the feedback form. Hey, Dr. Drew. What is Girls Circle and how then to lead it. So here is week 1, just for an example for you, how to use the guide and how to do the format. So the Girls Circle format usually has opening ritual. So you'll begin the circle with an opening ritual that marks commencement of the circle process. It could foster a special tone. It may invite participants into unique space and time of the circle. Sometimes they'll start with a meditation. So here's some examples: lighting a candle, ringing a bell, having each other participate and say one word about how they're feeling, maybe even silence, but that is harder if they're all talking the first time they've seen each other in the week and catching up. Music is a good one, as that can like drown out their talking. Sharing a special reading, holding hands and stating intention, setting an altar, that's one of the options. Lighting individual candles. So depending on what the agency rules are to have teenagers with candles, you could do that one. So you'll do your theme introduction. It's usually presented in a short synopsis. Chosen theme will be tied into the activity and discussed. Then there's the check-in. So you're covering the whole hour, and this is, you want to make sure to cover, you see these 3 here: check-in, activity, and sharing of activity after they do it. So the check-in time is for the girls to check in with groups and express whatever they wish, or perhaps say something about the theme. Some people use a talking stick because then they won't be talking over each other. So talk softly and carry a big stick is like an old quote from the 1940s. Respect is emphasized and given by listening. Girls are welcome to say as little or as much as they choose. One person speaks at a time. That's the point of that talking stick. Some examples are like feelings about the theme, or one high and one low of the week. A lot of people like starting out with the highs and the lows so you know what mood they're in, maybe what happened at school or work today, what they are presenting, what they're feeling, a pressing family issue or problem, concerns about a relationship, a success or disappointment, fight with a friend, and feelings of insecurity. Hello, Tiona. So those are a lot of the check-in things. Now, when you open how to lead a group, it's called Relationships with Peers curriculum. I sent it out in the announcements. The next thing is activities. So with a verbal activity, discussions, and then also creative activities, artistic, put girls in touch with their inner experiences. So if you're leading the girls circle, whether it is week 1 or week 10, these are kind of the common things that happen while you're leading the group. It allows them the ability to express themselves in a safe and protected environment without the danger of losing connections with others. Then after they finish their activity, you have the sharing of activity, and this is on every week. You may choose to lead if you haven't found your own group to lead for assignment 2. The sharing of the activity is when the circle reconvenes to allow time for sharing through Shakira, good morning. So we're just going through the relationship with peers curriculum. Excuse me. Smog alert has still got me. But these are ideas of stuff you could lead. This gives you weeks 1 through 10 in the girls circle. People choose any of those weeks to run. And I'm going through now after you introduce a theme and introduce the girls in the girls circle, doing the activity, sharing activity. It says the sharing of activity is when the circle reconvenes to allow time for sharing. Through careful questioning, girls can begin to share responses and feelings, interpret themes, explore commonalities, and make the connection between the theme and their experiences in the real world. So what is going on in their life? What do they have that's challenging them? Did you give them time to draw it up artistically and things of that nature? And then they all have a closing ritual. So usually the closing ritual begins with brings a special close to the shared experience and sends members off safely with a positive tone, a sense of gratitude and respect. It reflects the intimacy that has developed and unites the circle for a final moment to bring awareness to the communal energy and heartfelt sharing. So, some examples could be holding hands or blowing out the candles that you lit on the opening of group, closing eyes together and giving thanks, having each girl state one positive affirmation or statement about herself, making a statement of future hopes for the circle, ringing a bell, doing a circle hug, reading a poem or quote. So those are some of the closing rituals. And then after that, on page 10, it jumps into a lot of the activities you could do. Like week 1 is connecting with each other. And that's one of the things that are important there. Creating group guidelines. They have a commonalities bead game. Like 2. Oh, cool. Yeah, you can use this at your internship. Um, Shakira mentioned at the internship. So is this a social work internship or is it a um, like a summer unpaid internship that's a camp or something with the because it is essentially a lesson planner. So and yeah, you can film that. I mean, obviously, if you have teens or it's a camp, they want you to get a photo release or a video release, or you could just film yourself leading the group and not film them or their names or their likeness. That could be helpful. And excuse me. You said internship. Hope the group host the group with the kids today. So there is a lot of cool stuff. I don't know what ages yours are all, but at Lighthouse we would use this with almost every age. I feel like it covers like ages 10, 12, especially 14, 16, 18. So no matter what age, cultivating respect would be a good one. Paid, and yes, it's a camp for 6 weeks. So yeah, it's almost the exact same length as what a group is. And I did a few of those fresh out of graduating. Well, I did Camp Stepping Stones. That was for folks with developmental disabilities, but we'd have to then have like a lesson plan for the week. Luckily, they had like a lake we could fish in. They had arts and crafts. They had a gym. They had a few other things. So all high school students is a good age for this. So this really has, I mean, it's 108 pages of like start to finish everything you need. And if they have some of the materials you need, some of those need less materials than the other. But heck, if it just started, you could try to get through week 1 through 10 in 6 weeks even. So week 1 theme is connecting with each other. So the commonalities, bead game, poster and markers for groups, journal for them if they're journaling for the 6-week, plastic baggies for beads, purpose to help girls. And this can be used with boys too. So it doesn't have to be girls if they get set off by that, just like adolescent circle. So help the adolescents become more aware of their relationships to themselves and others. Have girls express themselves with each other in the group. So it shows you how to prepare as the group leader. And then, okay, so thinking of the final paper, writing all this stuff down while you're creating the group, leading it. And the cool part is after you lead it, what you think would make it better. So actively Filming, I always do it on YouTube Live because I never have space on my phone or my computer. I think Zoom also will save your stuff, but it's harder to like make it public for everybody to find it. I like that YouTube is searchable. Um, so it gives you what you need to prepare, how you prepare it, exactly what you do in the opening ritual. So you're going to choose what that might be. Again, it has all these examples: a bell, a candle, high and low of the week, theme introduction, and girls often place more significance on their relationship with boys and men than on their relationships with girls and women. But love relationships can come and go. For this reason, it's important to develop female relationships that offer long lasting friendships that can support us through good and difficult times. And the purpose of Girl Circle is to unite young women and girls to be together. Maybe if they're in high school, they're at that age. I guess in high school, you're 15, 14, 15, 16, 17, and some are a year older. It even has, the icebreaker, creating the group guidelines, how you make safety in the group, how we do not want to treat each other. And if you have like a poster board, like a flip chart, you can have them write that stuff up. I feel like on the internet, they even have some film of the creator of Girl Circle running one or talking about it. So Girl Circle group video. I believe there's at least 2 that kind of talk about how it affected them and what was helpful. So One Circle Foundation, girls curricula, training. Interesting, they have a lot of short 1 minute and 5-second videos. So let's see. This is on Facebook though.
Programs will find the simplicity, but also the holistic approach of the curriculum to be beneficial to use with their youth. I like the idea that there's multitude of curriculums that cross different age groups, and so they can find what's really appropriate for the kids that they're working with, but also that there are additional curriculums so that once you get through your 10 weeks, you can add on to that. You can continue to use the model as your kids have needs.
A lot of the topics that I know are in the curriculum that One Circle offers are not easy topics. And so to have some structure and to have some framework of being able to be intentional and create different types of ways that young people can process and to share and to support each other through hard stuff, I think is really powerful.
It has made me stronger as a person. It helped me in a lot of different situations that I've talked about. And it made me look at things a lot different.
So if the camp has money, they could call the One Circle Foundation and order some of those things. Let me see if it'll bring me back to their. I know how sometimes Facebook doesn't like to go in reverse. There we go. They have quite a bit. Girls support group. They actually look like high school age too. So I didn't realize how much they had on Facebook. I probably would have found it earlier. One Circle Foundation training. They could even bring them in. Trainers. There's a Deaf Girls Circle camp. I've never seen that one. Girls Circle by Cindy Punt. So as you can see, there's quite a bit. And group of women sitting in a circle discussing stock footage. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, there's quite a few. It's been around 25 years, so you can tell it's peer-reviewed, things of that nature. So I'll finish with that. Actually, we'll start with that next time too. It's been around a good long while, and so definitely observe your group first if you haven't done that. And while you're running this group, think of what you'll add into your final paper, because that's the entire class. So it's a long paper, but like say citations and excerpts you would want to take and put into it, go ahead and put that in. And again, if you have any questions about this, if you want ideas of other things, I may have a trauma group that I could also find to send out to you guys. I have to dig deep for that. But that is probably it. The final paper, I have to look at the syllabus, but because it is a practice class, this is kind of what helps us keep our accreditation. And if you haven't had me in class before, remember I am okay with you guys using Courier New font, size 12, which actually makes a 6-page paper into a 9-page paper. So I feel like I'm going to have to go back and download the syllabus. I feel like it is 10 to 12, but I could be wrong on that. So using the Peers with Curriculum guide as citations and like stuff that you use, maybe even adding the grant piece into it, that you're writing a large grant. Okay, I will look for the trauma group at the end of this. It's when I was leading groups back at Lighthouse, so it's been a minute. It was more like 2016, 17, and 18. I guess that's not been too long. But I have I have an entire folder on trauma. If I can share that Dropbox folder on this media, I will. But that is all I have. So again, throw out any questions, email anytime, refer to the syllabus for all of it. And luckily, this is stuff you will use as a social worker. If you write a good enough grant, you could submit it for the places you're working and try to get them $10, $20, $50,000. And that's the cool part. So, do well on it, and you can use this for future. Use it in graduate school. These are graduate school style assignments. So I am ending there so you guys have time to work on stuff. But see you. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you, I think, on Tuesday again. There may be a class presentation, but I'll still try to get chapter 10 in there.